Howdy everyone, and welcome back to Royville Reads. My name is Stefan, and this month is June, and that means it's June on the Range. This is a yearly event. I don't know who it was started by. I got wind of it through Michael Vaughn of Stately Vaughn Manor, a amazing booktuber. You should definitely check out his channel. But he participates in it, and what June on the Range is basically in June, everybody reads a Western, whether it's a Western, as far as I can tell, whether it's a Western like fiction novel, whether it's a history, um, something American West. So what I did was I read the book Smoke Jensen, The Beginning. Now, this is written by William W. Johnstone and his nephew, which I thought was kind of cool, J. A. Johnstone. And I guess William W. Johnstone is kind of the main writer, and his nephew is like the auxiliary writer, but he also does a lot of his research for him and basically helps with the novel. I had gone on the interwebs and looked up what should I read with Johnstone and Johnstone, because when I went to used bookstores, I found literally 100 of these books written by these two. And I wanted to crack into it. I didn't know what to read, and everybody said on the internet that Smoke Jensen, the Smoke Jensen books, Mountain Man books, were basically kind of quintessential reading for these two. So I looked and looked and looked and finally found Smoke Jensen, The Beginning. This book was a very quick read for me. It only took me 3 days to read, and honestly, I probably could have read it even faster if I didn't have to do that work thing. But yeah, it's only like 340, only 340 pages. For me, that's a lot. So let's get into it. So Smoke Jensen was born Kirby Jensen, and he grew up in, I think, Missouri. I read it very quickly, so some of these details might be a little fuzzy for me. But he grew up on a farm with his father Emmett, mother Pearl, sister Janie, I think is how you pronounce it, Janey. She'll be pretty big in the story. And older brother Luke. He was the youngest. Kirby Jensen was the youngest. So he grew up before the Civil War on this farm in, I think, Missouri. And as this was going on, they talked a lot about basically life on the farm, him helping out, him going to school, his brother not being able, or deciding not to go to school after like the 5th grade so that he could work on the farm with father. But Kirby and Janie, they had to stay in school. And then the war kind of happens. There's marauders. There's a group called the Jayhawkers, and those were the Union loyalists. And then there was the Ghost Riders, and they were the Southern loyalists. And the Jayhawkers, both of the groups were kind of seen as bad, but the Jayhawkers and this guy Angus Shardine was really, really bad. They would go in, they would burn homes, farmsteads, they would rape, pillage, kill men, women, children, indiscriminate, because it was okay, because the Southerners were all kind of dirty slave owners. And obviously slave owning is bad, but for example, Emmett did not believe in Kirby's dad did not believe in owning slaves. He thought every man should be free. And his idea was that he didn't want to have the union, the government, telling him what he could do with his life. Even though he hated slavery, he didn't want the government coming in, states' rights kind of thing. But the Jayhawkers were indiscriminate. It didn't matter who you were. If you were in a southern state, they would come in, terrorize, that kind of thing. Which is ironic because it doesn't talk about them actually like freeing any slaves or anything. It just talks about them going and like killing, raping, and arson. So Civil War comes, and both Emmett and Luke decide to join up with the Confederate States. And so they go off, and while they are gone, basically Kirby's the man of the house, even though he's like 13 or 14 years old at this time. And he kind of has to take care of the farm, take care of mom and his older sister, has to leave school, and then the Jayhawkers come. And graphic warning here, basically his mom is shot in front of him, and his sister is violated by the Jayhawkers. He's hit, and they think he's dead, I think, but he wakes up later from his sister waking him up. They bury their mother, and Janie says, basically, I have to go. There's this man that I like. He can invest some money. I need to go. And Kirby's like, well, you need to do what you have to do. I understand. I don't want you to go. But, you need to do what you need to do. So Janie thieves some of the money from farming and takes it, gives it to this guy who will then invest it, and she thinks she's going to be able to pay him back. That's not what happens. He's actually kind of this con artist and gambler, and basically starts squandering the money gambling. She is basically roped into helping him. He gets killed. She doesn't know what to do, and then she starts to basically become what they term in the book and what kind of history terms as a soiled dove. She becomes a prostitute in a number of cattle towns to kind of support herself. Kirby, once again, or not once again, I'm sorry, Kirby at home is basically by himself, sees these Jayhawkers come through. They don't do anything to him for some reason, and then after that, because they're running, and the Ghost Riders come after them, asking where they need to go. He says this way, is like, do you live by yourself? And through this conversation, a young boy that is riding with the Ghost Riders, named Jesse James, yes, probably that Jesse James, gives him a pistol. Gives Kirby a pistol. They ride off. Eventually, Kirby becomes a member of the Ghost Riders, even though he's very, very young, and has some adventures with the Ghost Riders until the end of the war. When Emmett's father comes home, it appears that Luke has been killed during the war, and his father comes home, and they both have this idea that the father's going to avenge the death of those that killed his son, because I guess it was some Southern soldiers that were not turncoats, but they basically stole some gold and killed Luke in the process. And then Kirby is going to find this Angus Chardine and kill him for killing his mother. So they're off and they're going to avenge and fight the good fight. There's this big subplot with Janie and what's going on with her. There's a point where they go to the Emmett and Kirby go to the same town, and they're literally like 20 feet away from Janie, but they don't see her. She doesn't want them to see her because of the shame of what she is now, and that she stole the money from the family. So there's this, and there's more with Janie, and I'm not going to go too much into it, but there is basically a big subplot with Janie and what happens with her as this continues. And then the rest of the book is basically Kirby, who gets the name Smoke Jensen by being able to shoot a pistol really quickly. And so this mountain man says, I'm going to start calling you Smoke. Yep, that's your mountain man name. I'm going to call you Smoke. And then everyone was just like, okay, we'll call you Smoke then. So that's how he became Smoke Jensen. That being said, that's kind of the way a lot of things happen in this book. I'm sorry, I'm kind of sinking down here. That is the way a lot of things happen in this book. It's just kind of like, you know what? That's going to happen, so it happens. I don't like Kirby. I'm going to call you Smoke. So then everybody starts calling him Smoke. Here's a gun. You should learn how to shoot. Becomes the fastest draw in the West in an afternoon. And so I guess what I'm trying to say about that is I think this book is a Western, obviously. But it's kind of like a Western in the fact that he's a superhero. Smoke Jensen, this is kind of, and I can kind of see it because there's, so it says here in the preface, it talks about Kirby Jensen and the books about Kirby Jensen, because I don't actually think this is the first book written about Kirby Jensen by Johnstone and Johnstone. Johnson and Johnson, anyway. Just saw that. Johnstone and Johnstone, but it does say that, you know, he has become legend in the Wild West. Obviously, this guy is a fictional character, but in the books, he has become a legend in the Wild West. And the preface says that when legend becomes fact, it's basically a line from a movie, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. A great movie, by the way, Jimmy Stewart. Strongly recommend it. But in that movie, one of the lines is, when legend becomes fact, print the legend. And I think that is what is happening here. The authors have clearly stated that, okay, this is kind of what happens, but we're going to write it as it is a legend, not so much fact. So Smoke Jensen is a superhero. There are things that happen that kind of make stumbling blocks in his life, but he quickly and easily overcomes it. He never shoots any. There's like one scene where he is learning how to quick draw and misses some leaves. I think that is the only time in the book where Smoke Jensen misses anything of what he is shooting at. And he doesn't just shoot at people. He basically bullseye womp rats with his T16 back home. The called shot master, he never misses anything he shoots at. His companion, one of his friends, takes him to a U.S. Deputy Marshal. And I'm like, okay, so I see here they're probably going to have him trained to be a U.S. Nope. So you want to be a U.S. Deputy Marshal? Yeah, what do you want to do? Well, I want to hunt down this guy and kill him. Okay, here's your badge. I mean, everything is just one after the other, stumbling block easily overcome, stumbling block easily overcome. So, just through the whole book. Not saying that the book is bad. It's just if you're looking for something a little more natural, a little more kind of real world-esque Western, this isn't it. And you can tell, and at least in my opinion, when I started reading this, about 50 pages in, I really understood where this was going to go. It is very easily assessed how the book is going to end. Let's just say he has a vendetta to kill Angus Sheridan. Fill in the rest of the plot. I do believe, though, it is setting up, or it was setting up kind of, the book kind of had to make the characters to a point where the rest of the stuff happens in their lives. And at the end of the book, he does not come back and he does not see his sister again, but I'm sure that that's probably going to happen in the later books. I think it's funny. So his brother's dead, but there is a like a preview for another book in the back where the brothers Jensen has to take down this bad guy. So obviously, big spoiler alert for the back of the book. So yeah, probably out of 6 bullets, I would probably give this one a 4. You have to keep shooting it or you don't have to shoot it as much. You don't have to fan the hammer all the way to the end. This is a fun book. It's a good book, but if you're looking for a very tight, gritty Western, this isn't it. However, I do have more of them. I did get a few more. I got some compilations. For example, I got this one. This is Revenge of the Mountain Man and Vengeance of the Mountain Man. Smoke Jensen, American Legend. And I think I got another one that was Smoke Jensen, American Hero, I think. Oh, no, American Justice. So this is also 2 books. So I'll probably eventually read those. I don't think I'm going to hurry up and read them really quickly. But yeah, I did enjoy it. But just know what you're getting into. It's more kind of a Western wish fulfillment than an actual kind of gritty, real life kind of Western tale. That being said, that was my book for June on the Range. I might do another one. I have a couple options for another Western to read. And if I do, I'll try to do it before the end of June so I can have another June on the Range video. But I did want to kind of, so as you know, I am a huge fan. Sorry if my chair is creaking here. Well, I guess it's kind of, the creaking chair from, all right, kids, sit on around here and we'll talk about what's going on the ranch. But anyway, so as you know, I'm a big fan of Westerns, Western movies, the Western time period, American mythology, the West. And this is literally the 3rd book that I have read that was set in that time. This is the 2nd best that I've read. Now, granted, I've read a lot of history stuff, like real world, like books about Earp and Tombstone and Dodge City and stuff. But I mean, like fictionalized books of the West. I've read 3. This is the 2nd best one that I've read. Once again, I wasn't a fan of Louis L'Amour. I know I'll probably get burned at the stake for that. But I've only read 1. I'm going to read more. I've been told it was Louis L'Amour is basically the Harlequin of Western novels, and I can kind of see that. And then my favorite was actually my favorite book of all time. I think I've said this before. My favorite book I've ever read was Lonesome Dove. That was the first one that I've read. So I guess probably partly is because I've kept it so like Lonesome Dove is my favorite book of all time. So for something to live up to that is very, very hard. But that being said, I want to thank you all if you've gotten this far. This was a longer video. I'm sorry, I didn't think it was going to be. But I just want you to remember that June on the Range, read a Western, read something about the West before June's over, just if you want to participate. But no matter what you do, keep reading, keep expanding your mind. And thanks, everybody.